you're going to want to do pretty quickly in MATLAB is to look things up, to get some help. You could be confused about things, or somebody told you about a command but you don't know how to use it. Maybe you want to look up the plot command and learn more about that, or what the X label and Y label commands are actually for. And MATLAB has an amazing set of features that provide you with help support. And you can see there's a help menu up here which you can click on, and it will show you all sorts of different things here. Licensing is not what you want to spend much time reading about, I suspect, nor are some of these other things, but there's a support website that will pop up if you go to that, and then there's an amazing amount of documentation built into the system, and it creates, you see it over here, another window which is the documentation window in MATLAB. And there you have documentation in MATLAB or Simulink, or if you're having trouble with installation. So we can say click on MATLAB, and then there's a bunch of modules already pre-populated that are really helpful to get you going. So getting started, language fundamentals, data import, mathematics. You could find pretty much everything you need for this course just by going through some. You wouldn't even have to go through all of these to have a really good idea of what there is available and how you would use it to solve your problem. Now, of course, you can get search functions that will help you find things. So let's say with the plot command we wanted to know, we can type plot, and it looks like there's a lot of different plot functions. In fact, there are 233 more besides the 5 that are listed here. So plotting is very powerful in MATLAB, and it's known for its easy to use plots. They tend to be a little pedestrian in their look sometimes, and you have to fix them and clean them and do things with them, but there are many, many commands that allow you to do that. And this really allows you a lot of flexibility in your plotting. So if we just go to the 2D line plot, which is the one we just did, there we see the plot command with all kinds of different functions. We'll learn about the line spec that determines what sort of line gets drawn. You can have multiple plots, so one pair is x1, y1, and then an x2 and an x3 and an x4, and eventually xn and yn. So you can overlay plots of a number of graphs of similar scale, similar scope, and compare them. Compare the signals from the number of beats you might collect from an electrocardiogram, something like that. And then there's a written description here that tells you all sorts of things. There's an example link over here. There's really an incredible depth of information that shows how to use it, examples, creating a line plot. This is one creating a plot using a sine function rather than those discrete numbers that we typed in so tediously. Plotting multiple lines. So you really can find a lot in this help functions that MATLAB provides, and they're just a real wealth. And MATLAB has made a point to do a pretty terrific job of including a great deal of documentation and keeping it up to date. Now you can Google all this content. You can do MATLAB plot and find information there. The beauty of doing it in the program you're running is you're always going to be sure that whatever you find is up to date, that it matches the version of the program you have. And oftentimes if you do a Google search, you'll see a wonderful description that looks very attractive and just what you want, but it only works in a previous or a new or some other version of MATLAB. So using the built-in functions and getting comfortable using those is a really great idea. And you can always add commands right up here. You can do a search from this little window. Again, a search command, you'll see all these plot functions popping up here. Click on this again, and we end up with the same content without having to explicitly open this documentation window. It just pops up naturally in front of us. So make sure you get comfortable with the help commands. Make sure you also get used to reading and trying to understand these error commands you get. Some will be very cryptic and hard to understand, but eventually you'll get used to reading these and understanding what they mean. Because this command, for example, says I've tried to call a function. So this thing here is a function, which is kind of like a command, but it has parameters that drive that function. In this case, a text string, that's the parameter. So this is a function with a text string parameter, and I've called it, and it said it's an undefined function or variable. It doesn't know for sure whether I mean a variable or maybe a function, but it just says I don't know that. and so I'm calling it undefined. And if it's close enough to a real function, then you might get a corrective suggestion like we saw here. So make use of this and just generally wander around this interface, just clicking on stuff, and you'll see soon enough all the various, or some subset of the various functions that you have available in MATLAB. And as the semester goes on, you'll get more and more comfortable using those functions, and the whole program will become a lot less mysterious and a lot more useful for your needs.